This is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network. Hard Copy, as you know, seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner, to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant, visionary action plan that is ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligence and honest contributions. After all, friends, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create, a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians, we the people, must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, still a lot to talk about in the aftermath. But what does this all mean? We'll break it down for you today, right here on Hard Copy.
Introducing Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited. When in trouble, call us on the double. Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited. We provide bail bonds of $10,000 and higher. Has your loved one been arrested or need bail? No worries, don't stress. Contact the best. Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited, First Street, The Grove, above Bronze Brick Center. Telephone 325-8363 or email bailbonds@242@gmail.com.
Over the decades, Bahamians have trusted New Oriental Cleaners because New Oriental Cleaners provides quality common care, friendly service, and satisfied customers. Guaranteed. With more than 50 years of experience, we are here for you. Stop in at any of our 9 locations throughout Nassau. New Oriental Cleaners, keeping you looking good is our pride and joy. New Oriental Cleaners. Like us on Facebook and be the first to know of our many promotions.
Having trouble getting sorted out with your immigration paperwork? Put your concerns in proven and capable hands. Prime Immigration Services, providing full services in all matters of immigration. Status permits, work permits, spousal permits, and even matters relating to detainment. Prime Immigration Services is located First Street, The Grove. Call 325-8363. Prime Immigration Services.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's Hard Copy. Single-handedly, I feel you really brought the F&M government to where they are now. Opposition.
It is Tuesday, the 30th day in the month of June. That's it for June. Goodbye to June. Welcome to July. Tomorrow, as you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have mostly cloudy skies for you this evening. 88 degrees on the outside right now. It feels like 98 still, even though the sun is going down in the west. There's an overnight low of 79 tonight and a 20% chance of rain in the forecast. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home this evening. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We're brought to you today by Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited, the Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, BTC Everyday, New Samsung S6 on the market, ready for play. Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, the McKinney Media Group for effective PR concepts and advertisements, Island Made Products, Ministry of Tourism, Goombay Summer Fest, getting ready to start actually jumping it first Saturday in July. AML Foods, Solomon's Fresh Market, and Cartwright teaming up to give you $30,000 in trips and vacations this time around once you shop at those fine stores. Advantage Insurance and Broker, 61 Collins Avenue. New Oriental Laundry, 9 locations to serve you across New Providence, and they're waiting to make you look good. Grace Academy, number 1, Chester's Clothes for good and higher education. Ron's Electric Motors, they can fix anything. Prime Immigration Services. Sky Bahamas, professionals in every way, every day. Super Wash with 11 locations, open 24/7. Seafowl, Cleaner Financial Advisor Limited, Executive Printers, and Henry F. Store, delight people on Mackey Street. Today, we're looking at the aftermath. This is Hard Copy, and so we're looking at the aftermath and all of what has happened so far. We invite your participation. You can call me this afternoon at 325-0235 or 6, 325-0242 or 43, 3250252 or 53. I'm also receiving your text messages today at 376-9234. You can follow us on the World Wide Web at peace1075.com, cable top box 970, TuneIn Radio, iPad, iPhone, any Android, you'll get us no matter where you are in the world. And you can also follow us on Facebook, Hard Copy, and on Twitter, Hard Copy Bahamas. Can I tell you something, my friends? There are three kinds of people in the world. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wondered what happened. My friends, today, I've come to remind you that these are serious and compelling times. These are sobering times. Make no mistake about it. Many among us are left to wonder what's happening to our Bahamas, wondering what else will go wrong. The news of Bahama filing for bankruptcy has left many wounded, shocked, depressed, and still others frustrated, confused, dumbfounded. Oh, how heavily our country, our people have been depending on the success of this multi-billion-dollar project. The outlook presently is very bleak. The reality is setting in. Bahama may never be. Think about that for a second. We would all wish our circumstances were not what they appear to be presently, but we must face that serious possibility that Bahama may never be. If you subscribe to the philosophy that there are three kinds of people in this world, certainly we, the Bahamian people, now fit into the category of the people who wondered what happened. And if we have any sense of concern, understanding left, we would realize that this sudden shock is meant to prompt reflection of the true state of affairs, our real situation in totality. The honest truth about where we are in the country is in its national development. We have to really now come to terms with all these things. We've got to tell the truth. And the truth is, we may be in the first phase of a free fall. This Bahama thing has come, my friends, to wake us up. Are you awake? All those months we had been talking about this, almost 2-3 years, every day or every other day, as much as we could, talking about this particular situation with a possibility that this may never be. Though we see it, it's standing there, at least some phase of it. Can we really say that this will be? For sure, with any sense of personal conviction that, boy, this is going to work out. I mean, we're hopeful, but can we say that? Can we say definitively that this will be? Can we, after Ismarillion filed for bankruptcy? Do we know the full details of what the circumstances are and how long this may take? Do we know that this will work out in his best interest? No. So I believe that this is a lesson to all of us. What's that old adage? Do not put all your eggs in one basket. That rings through to me today, as I'm sure it did to many yesterday when the shocking news came And as the days and the hours go on, and we saw the response from the nation's chief executive, we now know that there is no plan. This response from the Right Honorable Prime Minister Perry Gladstone Christie was far from what people expected. Now, maybe he has answered that way because he does not want to give any play to all of this hysteria that it's over. Well, I can't blame him. But looking and evaluating the circumstances and all the troubles that we have seen over the years and all the ups and downs and the twists and turns and the turnarounds and the half-truths and mistruths and all kinds of other things, and this story and the other story, when you put it all together, can you feel in your spirit and soul that we're in a good place? Time and time again, the Right Honorable Prime Minister had talked about these openings that never happened. He was gleeful and hopeful that he would be able to negotiate and mediate and cause things to happen. He's been advised and told to do any number of things, including going to Beijing to talk face-to-face, government to government on this project that he and his cabinet and many others have said, we cannot afford to have this fail. The Bahamas needs Bahama. With all those things considered, here we are, the 30th day in the month of June, after a powerful move on the 29th of June that told us and caught everybody off guard, apparently, that he was filing Chapter 11 in the United States. This has touched off a number of things for all of us to now consider really where we are. When you look around and you see all the things that are not going so well, you have to wonder, where are we really? And you've got to wonder, is it necessary for a new mandate? Now, some people don't want to hear that kind of talk. I know. That's a new political mandate. Maybe that's where we are. Let's review. Let's go down the list, and you tell me today, when you call, when I open these lines, what your thoughts are, because really we are in a terrible situation because we have placed our eggs in one basket, and so many things were depending upon the quick opening, the non-delayed opening of Bahama, and the success of this project. Many things are dependent upon that. And this economy here in the Bahamas, the amount of businesses, the amount of associates within those businesses, the amount of investments from local businesses in that particular property to have stores and the whatnot, as we say. The amount of people who are depending upon that to come through so that they can get a return on their investment. Millions of dollars. Yet, on the move to file for Chapter 11, that came as a surprise to most associates, investors, and everybody else, and government. And you've got to now question in the aftermath, what does all of this mean for we, the Bahamian people, the smallest worker, the sweeper, the dishwasher, everybody up the ladder to the office of executive this and executive? What does this mean for us? Does this mean crumbling time? Is there a lesson in this for a country that has so many problems that we could really sink, literally, in the economy? It's sobering time. These are serious and compelling times. This is no time for flippant remarks, cavalier action. This is time for leadership. And leadership means somebody speaking from a premise that we will be fine because here is our backup plan. Excuse me, do we have a backup plan? I come to make you sober today, friends. I don't believe that people in the Bahamas have grasped the gravity, the enormity of this situation. So when we put this into the mix in our state of affairs as to where we are in a country 3 years into a Christie administration that's not been anything bright and pleasant, with 2 years to go, I come to tell you that it's a sobering time. No more time for jokes. No more time for political statements. No more time for this kind of a, well, I still hope, I still wish and pray. We are all praying, but the part for wishing and hoping is in a very, very small corner, considering the magnitude of what has happened. Now, here are our troubles. See, I'm going to put this all together for you so that you can understand where I'm coming from today and why today I'm going to give you a prophecy from the one and only Myles Munroe that you have met. I'm going to give you the complete context of the prophecy that you have heard. And then you will be in a position to understand the state that we are in, why I say these are serious and compelling times. Indeed, if I was in the church, the pastor may say, these are perilous times. Perilous times shall come. Now, you say, but it's only behind. Well, that's just the point. If a country could be so dependent upon a project in a country blessed by God Almighty, and a country that has known all the good times and the simple ways of life many, many years ago that we seem to forget, it is time to talk about it. A good day for a good conversation. What do you say? And today I'm going to play a song for you. It's a Ronnie Butler song, but it is more spiritual than it is carnal. More spiritual than secular, though it's a secular song. I'm going to put that in here today for you so that you can understand that all along we have been missing what we're supposed to be doing. Looking right here at home for homegrown to get this country to the next level. As Munroe was saying, to the future Bahamas. So today, don't miss it, because if you miss it, you won't get it. Here are our troubles. I start with this so that we can put it all together for you in context. Matters that plague us all as Bahamians in the Bahamas in our 42nd year as an independent nation. The biggest project that we have ever sanctioned has filed for bankruptcy. 2,000 or more Bahamians have been sent home. 2,000 or more Bahamians have been told, do not come to work. They've also been told, we may be able to pay you for 3 more weeks. 3 more weeks only. The sudden closure of this $3.5 billion property will not be able to hire an additional 5,000 to 8,000 Bahamians for that much talked about new jobs that the Christie administration had been banking on. The unexpected move by the CEO, Mr. Sarkis Ismailian, To file Chapter 11 in the U.S. jurisdiction will no doubt have a domino effect in the Bahamas, as so many local businesses are attached to Bahama via investments or support services contractual agreements. They've got the whole economy in their hands, Bahama. These businesses stand to lose and lose big, which may mean layoffs of more Bahamians in this domino effect. Bahamians and their employee may be laid off as these businesses stand to lose millions of dollars as Bahama falters indefinitely. This is just the first sign, the first picture, Act 1. Now add these factors with some other national factors in our country and brace yourselves for even more stressful days ahead. The crime factor is dangerous and growing by the hour. The murder rate is unbearable at 70 plus, just midway in this year. 7,000 more youngsters have graduated this June, 80% looking for employment in this economy. Increased in the past 3 years to 15% on New Providence and growing, 18% on Grand Bahama and growing, 20% in Abaco and growing. Unemployment among Bahamians 18 to 35 years old is now surpassing 31%. In other words, the young people of this country in that category are endangered species in the job market. The numbers are too large, and we've just added it this June. There's more. When you look at combining all these things to see the perfect storm of a depression, an estimated 7,000 homeowners are delinquent in their mortgages. Banks are merciless. They are foreclosing daily on those folk. The government's proposed mortgage relief program is yet to happen. There is no remedy in sight at this hour. Hundreds of Bahamian businesses are failing and closing down in the interior of New Providence and in the other islands as well. More and more Bahamians are being put out of work because of economic crisis. The economy has a projected growth of only 1% in the forecast. The police force and defense forces remain at odds in crime fighting. The Commissioner of Police, despite his best efforts, is bombarded by heavy criticism daily in a divided police force, where we're told there are 4 different police forces because of political involvement. The immigration problem. The health problem overwhelms us. The healthcare system. The immigration problem overwhelms us. These are all a part of the combination of things that are leading to a unsteadiness in the psyche of Bahamians. Christie's government remains strapped for cash. Thank God July 1st will kick in tomorrow and maybe some monies will be freed up to pay mass bills and invoices. People have been having to wait on the government to get it together. Cash strap. There are also, this particular government, they are also in a political crisis. Members are resigning. Some who saw early from the cabinet. MPs are resigning on the floor of the House. For the very first time, a budget communication did not line up with the budget the budget debate, and the budget debate did not end. Not really. We hadn't heard from the Prime Minister, the Minister of Public Safety with all this crime, the Minister of Works with all these things that need fixing, and all the monies that are in the Ministry of Work, and all the problems with BAMSI, and all the other things with BC, and the whole list goes on. No contribution in the conclusion of the budget. First time, never happened before. We've never seen nothing like that. These are things, signs, and symbols to show the breakdown. And I come to tell you, because some people, they don't remember things. And we believe that all is well and hunky-dory, when in fact, we may be seeing the signs for us to stop the madness and get a grip on things. So I come to tell you, that Baha project sparked this kind of a thinking in the society and within the psyche of Bahamian people to ask the question, what else will go wrong? So they're challenging Christie, left, right, and center, even from within. He's now being challenged for the leadership with 2 years to go. Apathy has also set in among the Bahamian people. The society's morals have sunken very low in recent times. We only want to gamble. We're not interested in anything. And that's the doing of the present administration. They made it legal. But while it's legal, the banks don't want to take money and don't feel obligated to take money from those entities that are making money in gambling. The society's morals have sunken to a new low. And believe it or not, we have just scratched the surface of our many problems, the myriad of problems. There are many of them, some that may overwhelm us. Is all this sufficient for the country to get a new mandate? I ask you today. I've only listed some. When you put it all together and you move forward progressively, and that things are looking good, and that the future is bright, you've got to come to terms with the crisis that we face. You've got to come to terms with reality that we are in serious and compelling times. We are in that category of the people who wondered what happened. In other words, swept off our feet, blindsided, broadsided, whatever you want to call it, but we weren't expecting to be where we are. Tell the truth. Were you expecting to be here today, where you are? With somebody with the biggest project ever that holds the economy of the Bahamas and the reputation of the Bahamas in their hands. Weren't you expecting to be in a happier place where this project was completed? We had been open from 2014 when the world was told that they had a new destination, and all Bahamians and sundry would have been working, and we'd be looking like an island paradise, making our monies, feeling good, saving our homes, sending our children to school, being in control of the direction of the Bahamas. Weren't you believing that we should be there by now? But here we are, still talking, still looking at the many problems that we face, and with every growing day, they seem to be insurmountable. These are serious and compelling times. And when we have serious and compelling times, my friends, we have to go back to the basics. We have to go back to the beginning. We have looked all over the place and found investors from all around the world, and we've poured everything into them, land, concessions, everything we have. And we need a little bit of foreign investment, I suppose. A little direct foreign investment can't hurt. But we have become so dependent upon it that we have neglected to develop our own industries. We've neglected to develop the small business sector. We've neglected to develop our own human capital. And as a result of it, look at where we are in the 42nd year of our independence. 10 days away. Now, I come to sober you today. All fun and jokes aside, you can't be happy with where you are. You're not happy economically. You're not happy politically. You're not happy socially. You're not happy. There's some who are ready to give it up, but don't do that. I believe that once we turn our focus in the right places and feel the leadership from the right quarters, we may work ourselves out of this mess and may learn from this mess, as in the words of the Right Honorable Prime Minister, this could all be a teachable moment. But being a teachable moment must mean that we learn from our mistakes. And the mistake that we made, is not the big investment to try it, but is the method of how we did it. No phase in, one big doom that we can get it done, believing in somebody else's dream. And hey, by the way, didn't some union leader says just recently that all Obama was doing was selling a dream? Where are we? Can Mr. Christie really tell us where we are? You see, a matter like this, in my humble opinion, should prompt a national address. A matter like this should prompt statements right away, statements of hope from the nation's leaders. The first statement that was made by Christie last night came around 7:33. This event took place at 3:50. 7:33. 3 paragraphs. And the paragraphs was expressing hope that things will still be good, and unbelievably, that there is nothing much to be said at this time until, says the Prime Minister, the Attorney General and those would have given advice, because this matter is now something that we shouldn't talk about at this point in time. Well, how's that for leadership? What do you tell Betsy and Gully them? What do you tell Seymour and Truby them, who was waking down there, was told by the people that they're getting ready to fumigate the building, so leave the premises, followed up by an email that says, don't come back to work? After all this time, what do you tell them? This is no time to talk? Well, let me tell you, as we sent our news team around today, the people are angry. Employees are very angry. Very angry. They're angry not only at Bahama, they're angry at the government. They're smart enough to know that filing for Chapter 11 isn't something that happens on a whim. It has to be carefully orchestrated, carefully planned, and there has to be other players who know of it. In a jurisdiction like ours. So they're angry. But put that aside for now. Let's go back to the roots. The first soundbite that I'm going to share with you tonight, in these serious and compelling times on Hard Copy, is a soundbite that I doubt that you've heard before, from Miles Monroe. It's talking about going back to the roots, because if you go back there, there is where you find your future, is where you come from. Your home. Are we looking within our own talent pool? Are we looking within our own people? You know the answer to that. But here's something that may help to spark your energies and give you some glimmer of hope.
You know, God will never drive you from his will. You have to walk away from it. And because you have a will, you got to walk back to it. Sometimes I wish God didn't give us a will. But then we'd be robots. But he gave us that powerful weapon called a will. And we walked away from God. And God says, come back home. Now, I want to show you something. I call it the paradox plan of God. Paradoxical again because it's kind of reverse. God's divine plan for mankind was not progress or advancement. We think God wants us to progress. According to God's plan, God's divine plan is not to take us to the future. Not. His divine plan is to bring us back to the future. Where was the prodigal son's future? Not in the pig pen, not in the foreign land, as they call it in the Bible. His future was where? Right where he left it. Anybody following me? Young man, listen to me. Everything you're looking for is home. Young lady, listen, I beg you. Everything you're trying to find is in the house. I will arise and go back, he says. Your future is back. I sit with prime ministers and presidents. I tell you, some of y'all think, but Pastor Miles, boy, you must be lucky. I ain't lucky. These people are so dumb. They are trying to solve problems and they can't solve them. And when I say dumb, I respectfully say that now. Because you think, well, this guy is in charge, he must be smart. They are not smart. When you walk away from God, you eat pig food. No matter how much you pay for your shoe, no matter how expensive your dress or your suit is, brother, if you walk away from God, you are eating slop. Everything we need is home. So God says, come back to me. Yeah, write this down. A tree can never outgrow its roots. Write it down. A fish can never outgrow water. Write this down. We can never outgrow the need for oxygen. Write this down. We have to submit to the divine plan of God. And this plan is what? A backward plan. My Lord. Calvary came to bring us back.
Now, what do you glean from it? You've got to go back to basics, back to where you come from, back to your roots, back to your foundation. Are we prepared to go back? To go forward? It will be interesting to see what Mr. Christie's National Development Plan will call for. Because if we're building a country, we're going to have to go back to basics. You heard that before, right? To the foundation of who we are. To the essence of who we are, so that we can be all that we can be in this country that God gave us to build and shape, so that we don't have to put all of our eggs in one basket. This must be a teachable moment. This must never happen again. If we can salvage what has happened, one of the first directions that you've gotten from Miles tonight, you got to go back. You got to go back to the home base. Didn't you say you believe in Bahamians? You believe in the Bahamas and you believe in people? Well, you've got to go back and show that. You've got to invest in these people so that they can be all that they can be to build this country. This is a sobering day, friends. This ain't no time to fool around. Because what happened yesterday may very well be the beginning of woes. We don't know. We are hoping and still hopeful that, boy, this will blow over and everything will be fine. But will it? Can you count on it? We were told that Bahama was going to be a perfect project. It was going to take us to another level. You remember that? We were told that they were going to open in December of 2014. Then January of 2015. Then March of 2015. Then June of 2015. And before Ismarillion announced another date, he says, wait, we're 5 months delayed. I don't have the money. The creditors are coming after the assets, and I can't pay. I'm in an impasse with the Chinese construction company. The export Chinese bank's not giving any money. I have no money. I run to the U.S. jurisdiction to protect the assets. But I've got to send the people home. The project has to stop. The embarrassment will be Bahamas. But perhaps by the time as he's done, this project will be in the hands of some other people, which can also bring another dilemma for the people of the Bahamas. That's why it's imperative for the leader to speak now. There's some people who just don't feel too good about it. It's an old-time iffy situation. But there's hope. One of the things that I've given you so far today is the caveat from Miles that you got to go back to basics. And you got to go back to the home spot because that's where the future is. You've got to invest in your people. That's where the future is. Now, we've got lots to tell you today because this is a sobering day. You will go ahead if you like. But I will tell you, you don't want to know the effects if that project fails. I tell you so. Just ask 24 young ladies from Scans. Yeah, Scans on Bay Street. No, that's not something to do with Bahama, right? Okay, let's ask them. They were sent home because Scans had a restaurant to be open in Bahama. Bahama was delayed so much. Scans couldn't hold on no longer on Bay Street. And though those ladies were supposed to go to the new place when this new paradise would open, where we put all our eggs in one basket, they gone home. The man sent them home. And when they went home, something else happened. The Indians, another foreign group in our land, working and prospering off the tourism dollar that we spent all of our monies to bring here, they took the building of Scans and have converted it into another jewelry store to add with the abundance of jewelry stores that the Indians have taken over. Are we not being overwhelmed? Is our immigration policies adequate? But the Bahamian people gone home, and they ain't working. That's a small group of 2024. Now, if you know the amount of businesses that are doing business with Bahama and don't even know the people is filing for bankruptcy, and they ain't collect yet, you think they can collect at this time? Can they sustain their businesses at this time? Can they keep mommy and uncle and brother and sister employed in their various businesses that spans the Bahamas? That's the kind of impact. If that place don't work, where we put all of our eggs in one basket, that is the impact that that will have. Now imagine that. But there's been a caveat of hope today. And it's a very simple lesson. We need now to start looking at our own people. We got to go back to basics, back to the foundation, back to the human capital, back to the Bahamian people to rebuild. You know what Christie should be doing right now? Left, right, and center, liberalizing many areas for people to get into business with no payment. That's the kind of thing that Christie needs to do now. so that the people could find themselves and their talents that God gave them and fly like an eagle. Because dependent upon that out there in the West, that may stand as a constant reminder that you don't ever do something like that in the Bahamas. They seen the first one. Some many years ago, some people tried to build a big hotel on the western side of New Providence at Coral Harbor. It stands there today, never finished, never occupied, and was used as a prop in the recent James Bond film, Casino. People, this is a sobering day. This is the aftermath. I'm going to open my lines in a minute that you can speak with me. 325-0235, 325-024243, 325-0252 or 53. The text 376-9234. It's an opportunity for you to breathe, to exhale, to express yourself, because we are alone. We are alone, but we must not travel aimlessly. We must now rally around each other and strengthen each other, because those are our brothers and sisters who ain't got no job out there. And these are our children who are running around with guns in the streets and killing our other children. And these are our people who are wasting their monies looking for some pie in the sky goal. These are our people. Are we prepared? Now, I'm going to let the lines light up, and I'm going to run to a break. And as I run to the break, let me share another spiritual insight through a secular piece of music. The music is by Ronnie Butler, and the information is the words, the lyrics. Very, very important. It's called My Bahamian Ting, because it speaks to what Miles speaks to in a secular fashion, going back to basics, to go back, to come forward. You understand? We run to the break on Hard Copy. When we come back, we light up the lines for you, we talk with you, and we let you hear a prophecy in its completion in this 42nd year of independence, as we now look at where we are in a sobering reflection today, because these are serious and compelling times.
Early in the morning, as the sun is dawning, I go to the well to get my water today. Get my wood from the bush to make my tea, and eat my bread till I fill my belly. Then I get ready to go outside and play. Get my friends from next door to run with me to the store to get some salt beef and flour for mama to cook. We pick some lime from the tree and we pick some sapodilly. Then we make some switcher to drink to wash down the food. My Bahamian thing, growing up on the island, catching the fish with my bait and my line. Growing up on the island, sitting on the rock, everything is fine. Growing up on planting my corn and my peas and my sweet potato, nothing sweeter than Bahamian thing. Whoa, na na na, yeah, na na na. I remember when things were better back then. You didn't have to worry at all but locking your door. Everyone was like your neighbor. Take care of your son and your daughter. We had no bed, so we had to sleep on the floor. Go to church on Sunday, get ready for school on Monday. Study homework with a lantern till late at night. Telling them old time stories like a cookie and a rabbit, and sleep to your heart's content till the morning light. My Bahamian thing, growing up on the island, catching my fish with my bait and my line. Growing up on the island, sitting on the rock, everything is fine. Planting my corn and my peas and my sweet potato. Nothing sweeter than Bahamian thing. Oh, living the life was so carefree. Sitting on the porch with your family, talking and laughing till the break of day. Oh man, I say. Oh, my Bahamian thing, growing up on the island, catching the fish with my bait and my line. Growing up on the island, sitting on the rock, everything is fine. Growing up on planting my corn and my peas and my sweet potato. Nothing sweeter than Bahamian thing. My Bahamian thing, growing up on the island, catching my fish with my bait and my line. Oh man, I'm sitting on the rock, everything is fine. Planting my corn and my peas and my sweet potato. Nothing sweeter than Bahamian thing. Nothing sweeter than Bahamian thing. I say ain't nothing sweeter. Sipping my rum and my Coca-Cola. Sitting by the fire talking good controller. As a boy, this was the life you see. We had a real close-knit family. Now you know can Charlie them, and Fanny them, and can Claddy on them. Them old people we used to be sitting around the fire hot in the evening time, having one heck of a good time, let me tell you. That was what was happening them days. That island life was saying something. And that's when this country was saying something, Jack. Trust me. And you know that I know you know that what I say is true.
Now I know that I've gotten your attention with a piece of secular music that speaks the message of who we are. There's nothing sweeter than Bahamian ting. Can we still believe that? We need to believe that because you heard what Ronnie says. There was a time when we planted our corn and sweet potato and we could sit on the rock and fish with our fish, our bait and line. It's talking about the essence of who we are in a peaceful, tranquil place. We're so far from that now, aren't we? Nothing sweeter, he says, than Bahamian ting. Why can't our people see it? The leaders. That song is very spiritual if you look at the words of it. Fixed in a situation where you can miss it. But that song is saying the same thing that Monroe is saying. Back to basics. Finding home, the essence of who we are. And we ain't gonna find it with a bunch of jive time people who deliberately misleading us. All this thing that they're telling us, all this poor planning and poor management of things. You think this is helter-skelter? This is by design. This is Hard Copy, a sobering day. Let me just do this before I run to the break. I might as well. Hard Copy, how are you?
Hey, Steve, how you doing, man?
Peace and love, all is well.
Good. Steve, just a couple of points I want to say with regard to what is going on with regard to Bahama. You remember clearly that Bahama was boasted to be the savior.
Mm-hmm.
Big thing that's supposed to employ a lot of Bahamians.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we have forgotten is that we became so engulfed in that and became so dependent on it that we really forgot who we depend on.
And whose we are.
And I think in all this mess that is going on now, I think we need to stop and ask the question, what is God saying to us in all of this?
Mm-hmm.
God has to be saying something to us because when I look back at some of the things that has transpired over the last several months,
Mm-hmm.
you can see this perfect storm coming together based on things that have happened, statements that were made, so forth. But just a couple of things. First thing, Steve, I was talking to you for some time about the independence message.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to say to the nation while I get this opportunity is that if you get a chance, get a copy of Reverend Cooper's independence message, the message that he preached in 1973.
Mm-hmm.
That will set the tone for what this country was supposed to do. Steve and I got that and I listened to that. I listened to it about 3 or 4 times the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just amazed on what the country was supposed to be and where we are now.
We're off track.
That's the first thing. We're off track. The next thing is you touched on it about this foreign investment, getting back to using Bahamians to build this country. We have come too dependent on the foreign investor where we just sit on the beach and invite them over and we get a couple of jobs or the whole deal. I think that's where we've gone wrong, and that method has not worked for us, because that's how come we in this dilemma now where we're just depending on these jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And when these jobs go south, we left holding the bag. So our people are unemployed, and we are just being pushed aside after all the land and everything has been gone. And the third thing is, I just want to remind you about a statement that our leader made. I can't remember how long ago it was, but he said something to this effect. You can pray as much as you want, but when you want something, you got to come through me. Now that's a serious statement,
Mm-hmm.
and that is saying something. That statement is very telling, because what he's saying is, you could go to God if you feel like, but after you then go to God, you now got to deal with me. That's saying something, and people who understand it should be able to understand what that is saying. That don't need no explanation.
No,
that don't need to be built, nothing to be built on top of that. But I just wanted to share that with you, Steve, because we really are so far off the track that so many things have happened over successive years in terms of where it is we want to take this country and how we're going to get there. We didn't have a systematic plan. And if you look at what the original plan was, at the message in 1973, and you see where the country was supposed to go based on the message that was delivered, that was declared, where God said this country ought to be going. We're not nowhere near that.
I appreciate
that's why I believe we are in the situation we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we need to stop before we rush into anything else. We need to stop and ask the question, where is God in all of this?
And what does this mean?
What does this mean? What is he saying to us? Because what happened is we've been reacting. Every time when there's a problem, we keep reacting. We keep making decisions. There's another issue come up, we make a decision on that. We keep making reactive decisions. Because, say for example, if you want to go down from East Street and you're traveling down East Street to go into Wolf Road, along the way, problems come up, you just keep reacting to it. You're not stopping and saying, why is these issues coming up? And what is it I'm doing? Why these issues are keep coming up?
It's time for sober reflection.
Right. You just keep going and going and going, and you're making decisions, and you find that things ain't getting no better.
Yeah.
It's just getting worse.
Yeah.
Because you're not stopping, you're not listening, you're not asking God, what is it? Am I doing what you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going where you want me to go? Am I in your will? And we just continue to keep running along. And I hope we use this moment as an opportunity to stop, reflect, and ask God, what are you saying to us? Where should we go from here before we rush into the next thing and find out that the problems are worse? But there's hope, Steve. We have an opportunity to turn this around,
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be painful. It's going to be difficult. And we are at the moment now where we need to make a decision on who we're going to follow. Are we going to listen to man, or are we going to listen to the voice of God?
I
There's only
appreciate it.
two choices we have.
I appreciate it, my
And we
friend.
can continue to go down the road. We won't change anything, but we have a decision to make. Steve, thank you so much for allowing me to share that.
I appreciate it. Thank you kindly. Hard copy, how you doing?
Yes. Good evening, Brother Steve.
Good evening, sir.
Brother Steve, this is John.
Hi, John.
Brother Steve, I'm 50 years old, and I can remember back in the days when we depended on God. We cried out to God. Our persons like your mom and my mom and our grandparents, and 50 years and older, we've cried out to God, And that is the reason why God has blessed the Bahamas. Foreign investors came in and they opened up hotels and other businesses. The businesses that they open up is not our savior. The younger persons today, they're not crying out to God like the older people did. They are looking at the business as they're looking at the hotels and the other business that the foreign investors open up as their savior. They are not our savior. Our savior is God Almighty. Whether Cuba open up or not, the Bahamas is always going to make it. You know why? We fear God. This is where our prosperity lies in God Almighty, not in the hotels. Yes, the hotels are there for us to go and work in, but that is not where our success and our prosperity comes from. It comes from God Almighty, who is going to continue to bless us once we continue to do His will. We look into the wrong people who don't have the answer. The answer is not in Prime Minister Perry Christie or Ismailian. The answer is in the children of God and not in the churches, It's in the homes, in these quiet homes where you see people crying out to God for His mercy on this country. They have the answer. And God is going to move them to the forefront and time by time. Just like Miles Monroe say, there's going to be a lot of changes. God hand is in this. That's why it isn't working out. You know why? They look into Ismailian and Christie. They don't have the answer. The answer is in Jesus Christ. And until we go to Jesus Christ and ask Him to give us the answer, they cannot figure it out.
I hear you, my brother, and I appreciate your statements. And they are sobering. It is a sobering day. We've invested all. We put all of our eggs in that basket. We are hopeful that this is how we're going to go to the next level. Christie feels that way. Most in the government feel that way. Many people feel that way. Christie's not alone. But the two callers so far today has hit it right on the head, because it's going back to basics, going back to recognizing your source, and not only that, looking at your human capital. You have to say something to these people who, as Paul Morse said on this show last night, may need serious counseling. Is anybody home thinking about that? Some of these people are husband and wife on these jobs. Could you imagine two of them out, mortgage got to pay? See, nothing will last forever, we know. But this stability that we expected from a project that has been so much talked about around the world, Bloomberg and all of them had this on from Jump Street yesterday, the minute the news came out. That is not a good message that has gone forth with regards to the Bahamas. And we were warned. When they didn't open the first time, we saw where the people online was cussing and carrying on bad about the Bahamas, not about no Bahama. Them clowns over there, them people who don't know what they're doing. On our industry that God has blessed us with to be the mean bread and butter item of our country. In the face, with a backdrop of Cuba opening too, and there's Dubai and all the other places that people can go, we have a monstrosity out there. We don't know if it's going to go or if it's going to fall. We don't know if it's going to be successful or if it's going to fail miserably. Right now, we are betwixt and between on something, and the trouble that's with me on this matter is that all of our eggs have been placed in such a basket. And a country blessed by God, talented by so many Bahamians, and people who can lead if they really lead. We have all that we need. But somehow we're caught up with some other people in a country that's supposed to be home for us, as Miles Monroe says. We've got to go back home like the prodigal son. His future was not in the pig pen, but that's where he gone, He left home, all that he believed in and all that he was brought up in, to go out and venture out. He ended up in the pig pen eating husk with the hogs. And then he caught himself. And I'm hoping that this putting our eggs in one basket has caused us to catch ourselves like the prodigal son, gone astray, looking after all kinds of things, a whoring after other gods, I suppose. And then the prodigal son caught himself. He says, what am I doing here? All this talent that I have in myself, And my father owns all this kingdom, and I'm here because I want to be defiant and I want to be different. I'm eating husk with the hogs. Man, I better find myself to go back home and reinvest in me so that I can be all that I can be when I invest in me. Hard copy, how are you?
Hey, how you doing, Steve McKinney?
Peace, good.
I concur with your two first callers,
Mm.
and I was listening to Ronnie Butler sound. You know, the tourism industry, they always look at it as the white man house. So I look at it from this perspective. Out of the white man house and back into the fields. That's where we need to go, back into the fields as Bahamians, planting our corn and our peas and all those stuff, and realize that there is a God, and we should know that within ourselves that it's only through Him we get our well-being, and we should stick to the principle that we are a Christian nation, even though we don't practice it. You know, that we serve one God and the true and living God, through Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Have a nice day, Steve.
I appreciate it. The reason of the Ronnie Butler song, let me be clear, is to put in song for anybody who cannot imagine and understand this dilemma, that we have to invest in us. We have to do things that kept us prosperous and peaceful and happy. You can imagine now in this rat race that you are in, going out and planting your corn, your sweet potato in your own little yard. And then when you feel like it, man, go sit on the rock and throw your line over and catch some fish. That's life. That's how it's supposed to be in paradise. That's life. We've gotten away from that in everything that we've done. Big ideas with big lights and Las Vegas style developments, to the point where we ain't even got time to go sit on no rock and throw no line over and relax ourselves and feel good with ourselves. No time for investment in family and talking those stories and being together in a brood of. We ain't have no time for that. It's about trying to make some money. Got to go to work tomorrow, man. You got my clothes print? I got to go to work tomorrow for these other people in our country, and we can do better. See, the song was meant to provoke your thought, because it's the same thing that Miles is saying. You got to invest in your people and do things that you're supposed to be doing in the paradise. You got to be home. Home for us is this beautiful place where we can operate the way that we know we're supposed to operate, in peace and love and understanding, in a relaxed atmosphere. No stress, no madness, no dog-eat-dog world thing. That's what's that all about. Hard copy, how are you?
Good day, Steve.
Good day.
How you doing?
Peace.
Steve, listen, man.
Stay on point now.
I can stay on point. We're talking about going back. And Dr. Miles' prophetic word in regards to the voices that God has risen. He said God told him to stay home that year. He died. You see, I listen carefully to everything, because everything, in my humble opinion, in this country is relative, especially when it comes to the struggle and survival. I deal with concept. Steve, the message was sent to me by Almighty God, because men were not able to get their message.
Amos.
You're talking about coming back to the family hope, in my humble opinion, if you ask me. You're talking about coming back to the truth from being, and standing up when everyone wants you to be quiet, when any station would really cut you off if you try to take any position on behalf of yourself, the individual of this country.
Amos, let me just say this to you, my brother.
Go ahead, because I can talk with the eyes of the sea.
Don't miss what we're talking about today here. Please, it's not about you. Hard copy, how are you?
Steve, how's it going?
Peace and love.
I hear the tone and the sentiment of the show, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
And to an extent, reflection is absolutely necessary. But even reflection has a purpose.
Yes, it does.
And after you would have reflected, prayerfully and hopefully you come out of that with some things.
Absolutely.
Here,
it's meant to have us pivot and go in another direction.
Here's the thing, Steve. In middle management at what was then Cable Beach Resorts, I was there when these guys first came in, running a department at this place. And a good friend of mine, the great Brian McCartney, food and beverage sales manager, whatever, these type of things. We looked at some of the things that these fellas brought and were trying to implement.
Yep.
And from the door realized, guess what? They're not serious.
I saw the writing on the wall back in 2006, and you know what I did? Resigned and left. That's one thing. Here's what's most perturbing to me. And folks may look at it as politicizing, but look, man, we have some people in place to do some things, Steve. And my biggest issue, number one, and it's not just Prime Minister Perry Christie, it's also because Mr. Ingram had some involvement with this as well. Why were there no safeguards in place? The China construction people, this bankruptcy filing, Chapter 11, and look, Trump did it. 91, 92, 2004, 2009. His net worth now is $4.1 billion today, right? So the China construction people are going to get their money. Who are the other? Cable Bahamas are going to get theirs. BC. That's the whole purpose of this restructuring exercise. The 2,000 plus employees. Why were there no provisions in place when, be it Mr. Ingram, Mr. Christie, sat down at the table across from these gentlemen and had the forethought to say, look, this fella don't have no experience with no hotels. Kirshner brought something to the table. Say what you like about him. He had some functioning properties in other parts of the world. So if you go belly up, my brother, if there are any Bahamians employed at this property, be it 3 months, be it 6 months, be it a year, we're going to ask you to set some change aside. If the project comes off, then the people just get paid. You go belly up now. And I understand that nothing of this magnitude, I guess, has occurred as far as development is concerned to this point, where people actually were hired and on the job working. Where was the forethought? That's what a leader does, right?
Absolutely.
That's what they're supposed to do, right?
Absolutely.
And I want you to consider this. While we are here, and the Haitian problem for me is vexing. I'm going to tie this into if you give me 2 seconds. While we conducting all these exercises, going in Baintown, Palm Beach, and Engliston, and all those other places, rounding up the Haitians and the Jamaicans, the Filipino, Venezuelan, Peruvians are here, Steve.
Of course.
Put into this country under false pretenses.
And the Indians.
There are more than 2,000 jobs in this country. The people that were cleaning up at Bahama, listen, if Mr. Mitchell is serious now about immigration, go on Lightfoot Key, go on Old Fort Bay, go in Sandy Port. Get those individuals that are here by means of fraud.
Absolutely.
People to work. That's one way to really handle that. Separate and apart from that, you have some fellas over there that were brought in, Steve, making in excess of $80,000, maybe $100,000 a year. Some of them are still here. They still are. So you're talking about a couple of weeks. Send them fellas from around here, because according to you all, only thing you're doing now is protecting the assets. They don't need to be here. There's nothing to manage. Whatever's on that payroll, whatever monies they receive, go ahead and pay those people until you all figure it out. This is time for us to wake up. It is. While we've been sleeping, harassing the Haitians and the Jamaicans, I saw a notice the other day, Steve, for some Filipino beauty pageant contest at the center, the National Performing Arts Center.
Yes,
While
I
we
saw it
sleeping,
too.
harassing the Haitians.
We're losing the country.
Steve, they here. Their community is growing vast.
I know.
Fast every day. So if we can deal with this thing, let's be serious.
Let's deal with it.
I need my last point, Steve. The Prime Minister made a statement the other day about good news is coming. It is imminent. I come bearing great news and great tidings of great joy and all those other things, right? This the good news, boss? I mean, really, this is what it is?
Wow.
Why didn't the Prime Minister of the country, why do we have to hear this through some relief?
My Lord.
We're so intimately involved. Fred Mitchell got up. Stephen, I'm sorry. I got to call it a lie. If Mr. Christie was speaking with the parties involved on a daily basis, like Mr. Fred Mitchell claimed in the media, so that's not libelous or slander. Those were his words.
I know, I saw it.
So he said he's intimately involved in this process. Why was he in shock? Why now is there so much hope? What are we hoping for? If you're ready to lead from day one, there ain't no need for hope. Everybody, the tone, I've been hearing this word, hope, hope, hope.
Yep.
Hope is one thing, faith is something else. You realize that, right?
Absolutely.
This man, this administration, there is no hope for them. There is no faith in them. He needs to come to the people. Don't send no relief. Steve, if your employee mess up on the job, they have to come to the office, right?
Well, this is what I said at the beginning of the show.
You wait for me, Steve.
This whole thing about Christie making a statement, which was a frivolous statement in my opinion, it had no kind of power in it. It said nothing. It didn't inspire. It just seems like here's somebody in shock, still hopeful for all the best.
But see, but the other thing that was said by the Prime Minister in that release was that they're taking no sides. What about the flipping Bahamian people who are awake? What about their side? Isn't it your job, Mr. Prime Minister?
If you assume
on the side of your people,
if you assume that they govern for Bahamians.
Look, Steve, I hope this is the catalyst. I don't prescribe to any nonsense. The catalyst that galvanizes us as a people, that allows us to see truly. No Safeguards was here for you at every single point. Disappointment, disappointment, disappointment. And the heartlessness for you to release some statement, address those workers, call a meeting and sit down and talk to them.
Yeah.
Say to Mr. Ismailian, look, you guys, I'm not interested, and he needs to be. Let me adjust that. Whatever it is that you do, these individuals here that left jobs, that have been on this job here, you promised them employment. Do something. Sort it out, man. Come to me, Mr. Prime Minister. I'm summoning you to the Bahamian People's Office. I'm summoning you. Address me as a, look, and I can trace my piece back all the way, Steve. Come and address me as a Bahamian citizen. You need to answer some questions, sir. We're waiting.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you kindly. And that's how many people feel. But you see, don't miss the point. If there is no leadership being demonstrated in these matters, I go and refer you to a statement I made earlier. People, we are on our own. In the midst of the most major announcement adverse to the growth and development of this country, the man in charge responds hours later in a 3-paragraph response that says nothing. In fact, it also says there is nothing much to say at this point. We don't advise any much more to be said. That's the Prime Minister's statement. That's interesting. The caller pointed out that he also said that he's not taking any sides. What does that mean? Maybe we are all alone. Hard copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Steve. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
You know why there is no leadership in our country?
Why?
Because those who are supposed to be our leaders simply do not care. They do not care about the people of this country. They care about themselves and their families and what they can get. If they did care about us, Steve, things would have been much better because they can be much better.
Mm-hmm.
So in the midst of all this bad situation that we are now experiencing, Steve, this is also the beginning of a good day. Because now we can look to the hills for whence cometh our help.
There you go.
Now we can look within ourselves and see that we need to step up to the plate as Bahamians, and we need to bring those gifts and talents and abilities within us. We need to bring them out to be the people that God has created us to be.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And as a believer, I see in our country there are two main sins that God has to deal with us about. The first one is pride, and the second one is laziness. You see, God had to do something to get our attention. He had to do something to cause something to happen drastic in this country to get our attention, to break the pride in our hearts and the laziness that we have become so accustomed to. And if he has to use what is happening now, he's going to do it, because you know what our cry is every day? Our cry every day is that we could have a better society, a better country. We want to deal with the crime issue. We want to deal with the immigration problems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what God does, God has to deal with us first. You see, because to a certain extent, we have caused the problem. Understood. And we have to be dealt with in order for God to deal with the situation. And so until he breaks the pride and the laziness in our lives, then he will do what he has to do for us.
I appreciate what you say.
Okay, brother.
Very true. Thank you kindly. Hard copy, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon, Steve. First time caller here.
Welcome aboard.
One of the primary responsibilities of any government is the care of its people, the quality of life, economic development, the health and safety of its people, and on all fronts.
if you really watch the budget debate, Mr. Christie has been so lax and so laid back that, you know, it's apparent he is not. The question should be put to him now. Are you still willing and able to govern? Because, you know, I, for myself, based on his crime statistics put forward by his Minister of State and speaking on behalf of the cabinet, I have no confidence in him.
Well, that's interesting because you may not be alone. But I'm saying in the meantime, we seem to be imploding. If you look at the country and you evaluate our real state of affairs, where we really are, nothing great is really happening except a bunch of problems. We are overwhelmed with the immigration problem, overwhelmed by crime, overwhelmed by the murder rate, overwhelmed by so many things, unemployment and everything else. You've got to ask yourself that pivotal question. Is it time for a new mandate? In other words, do we go to the polls now and try to fix something? Because even in Christie's grouping, there are people who are going helter-skelter, to and fro, not checking for him, even challenging his leadership. You've got to see that. Don't take that lightly. Those are the signs of the times that we, the people, are supposed to read and demand that maybe we ought to do something right now.
And the sign was painstakingly clear, Steve. This is not by somebody who's foreign to him, not somebody who's foreign to his party. This is somebody who was elected in Parliament by him, Mr. Leslie Miller. And he put it painstakingly clear. Is it time that we look for new leadership? And the reality is, if Mr. Christie can have the audacity to write in pen and put it on paper and send to the Bahamian people, then maybe the Bahamian people need to put pen to paper and write back to him.
Quite interesting. I appreciate your call. Food for thought tonight on Hard Copy. Hard Copy before the break.
Hey, good afternoon, Steve. How are you doing today?
Very good, thanks.
Yeah, Mr. McKinney, I agree with all the callers. As a matter of fact, everything I wanted to say, they basically summed it all up. And so I would just like to say, you know, to those 2,000 plus persons out there, you know, that, you know, my heart goes out to them, you know, Mr. McKinney. I can honestly say, you know, I don't know how it feels to have been, you know, laid off from a job and, you know, with bills and all different types of expenses pending, you know, and so I can't say that I feel their pain, but, you know, I just want them to know that, you know what I mean? You know, I'm praying for them, and I'm quite sure that the Bahamian people are praying for them, and I just want those persons to know that, you know, like my mother always used to tell me, you know, God will never put more on us than we can bear. And I believe that, Mr. McKinney, that, like you said, like Mr. Munro said, this Mr. McKinney is all a part of a prophecy.
It is.
You know, I was listening to Bishop Neil Ellis on Sunday, and, you know, he was preaching a message. I can't remember what it was entitled, but what he was basically saying, he preached about Job. And he was saying, you know, after all Job went through, you know, the purpose of him going through what he go through, you know, he had to sacrifice. You know, he had to give up all, you know, in order to encounter, you know, his blessing.
That's right.
You know, Mr. McKinney, I believe that all that we're going through is our sacrifice right now. You know, and I believe that in the end that, you know, all that we would have lost, that we will regain double fold, 100-fold. You know, Mr. McKinney, just one thought, something that I would have been discussing with my friends earlier today. And I don't know if you probably want to take a shot at it, but I was thinking, you know, when I was watching Guardian News last night, they showed, you know, a previous clip where the signing of the heads of agreement between the government and Bahama and Mr. Ingram, and he shook the hand of, you know, Mr. Ismailian. And, you know, I looked at that smile Mr. Ismailian gave, and to me it appeared as if, you know, he was not happy. That's just how it appeared to me. And quite frankly, I believe that, you know, this Chinese deal with Bahama was never nothing that, you know, Ismailian and the Bahama group probably ever wanted to go along with. And I also believe that this Chapter 11 bankruptcy, Mr. McKinney, I believe that this has already been in the making. I believe this is the reason why Mr. Christie came forward and said that he had great news. And, you know, thinking that the Bahamian people was stupid, that, you know, we would take it as some form of good news. But I also am hopeful, and I also believe, Mr. McKinney, based on what Mr. Moss and Alison we said on your show yesterday, with the 120 days to, you know, to reorganize and to come back with a plan. Mr. McKinney, I am hopeful that by the end of September, that this project will come to fruition. I believe Mr. Ismailian is just trying to find a way to get rid of the Chinese as a partner, and already has or is in motion. in trying to obtain a different investor.
I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you kindly. What are we waiting for? Why would we be wishing and hoping for a project that is in the place that we own, where we're supposed to be kings and kingmakers, and we're just trying to get a little job? Now, I don't mean to minimize the seriousness of this whole matter. It is a very complex and very serious problem that we now have, the dilemma that we're in. But the bigger picture is that we're supposed to look at this, learn from this, and get away from this kind of a thing with a focus of how we're going to truly develop our country. You see, maybe the message is that our Creator is saying, I give you this land. This land is your land. You're giving it away to some others from some other land. You're willing to take a little bit of what they have as a little crumbs from the table in the land that I gave you and blessed you with. Maybe he's saying, don't you think it's time for you to go home? Really home in your soul, to the point where you know this is what you're supposed to be doing, but you don't have what it takes to develop your people. That's why I use the words as Christy used. It's a teachable moment. We're supposed to learn from this big mistake that we made. And the writing was on the wall from day one. And the whole thing was fraught with errors and problems and penalties and work stoppage and controversy and everything. Everything. Road works, problem. Encroachment on Breeze's property, problem. The building itself, problem. The workers, problem. Everything has been lined with problems. And you're still hopeful. Now we're at the point where filing for bankruptcy has happened. Chapter 11. And you still don't see the domino effect of what that means to the businesses who've already invested from businesses in that place to keep jobs going in other areas of the private sector. It's big. That's why it provokes comment from Mr. Christie to the people of the Bahamas. It does, whether he believes it or not. Call before the break. How are you?
Hey, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Christie might as well use his favorite word. He has no horse in the race.
He has no horse in the
Might as well say that. He says that he don't pick no sides. But Steve, we've been letting so much foreign investors just come here and rape us. From the Gin Group to the I Group, even Cushing came and got his. Real Paradise Island Airport used to be, Steve. You ever looked on Montague and see the concrete jungle?
Yeah, I see it.
He sold all that for millions and millions of dollars, you know. He left here rich. Then he mortgaged Atlantis, and the company who owns Atlantis right now, they don't lose. If you see things get slow, they'll break it up in half and sell it. Brooksville.
Such is the environment of big business.
And we allow them to come here, get the crown land without us getting interest in it. Do you know how big my property is? Steve, it ends at JFK. Steve, he was going to build condos and gated community there for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's crown land, you know.
May still be able to build those things. Depends on all this hoping and wishing that.
And who's the owner? Who will be the owner then? It won't be us, because he took that crown land and now it's owned by an American company. How that was done?
Anyway.
How?
Listen, you're still caught up in what has happened, what has been. I'm trying to get you to see what could be. That's my job today, to make you think, to provoke your thought processes to the point where, what about us? Yeah, what about us? We are fixed in this position of problems in the Bahamas, plenty problems. And that's not political. These are the states, these are the statements of facts that we are in a bad position. We are. Can you deal with all this crime and violence and all the other things that plague us? Can you? And now we have another thing. where we put our eggs in one basket and it doesn't look too good, perhaps will not work out in our best interest. Have you made any plans for if it doesn't work out in our best interest? What do we do then? Do we hold our heads and cry? Or do we begin now the quick move of catching ourselves and trying to go in another direction? I let you hear today the go back to the roots bit of the prophecy from Miles Monroe, going back to the roots. I hope you've gotten it, that we've got to reinvest in our people straight across and let our people sow and make the clarion call for people to come home and rebuild this country. But this calls for a new dispensation, a new order, mindset, a new people, not these Jurassic people, not these people who have already lived and had a good time and have brought the country this far. It's a new dispensation. When we come back this evening on the show, after these words, I'm going to let you hear the full prophecy, as tomorrow is the beginning of July. Don't move. It is very important. This is Hard Copy.
When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. Oh. The plane them spanking clean. The pilots them voice red. They fly you out on time. They fly the attendance red. Service is their passion. With you they take good care. Safety is their culture. Yes, they'll get you there. When I fly.
Fly with us to Fort Lauderdale or the beautiful Bahama Islands. Book today at 702-2600 or visit our website at skybahamas.net and experience Sky.
Entrepreneurs, are you missing out on sales because you don't accept credit card payments? Then BLB has the solution for you. Introducing BLB Mobile Express, the most affordable mobile card processing package for self-employed persons. With BLB Mobile Express, you can accept credit card payments almost anywhere on your smartphone or tablet, so you never have to miss a sale. Get paid on the spot with BLB Mobile Express. Visit any BLB branch or call us at 397-3000. BLB, your bank of solutions.
Introducing Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited. When in trouble, call us on the double. Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited. We provide bail bonds of $10,000 and higher. Has your loved one been arrested or need bail? No worries, don't stress. Contact the best. Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited, First Street, The Grove, above Bronze Break Center. Telephone 325-8363 or email bailbonds@242@gmail.com.
Welcome to Sunburst Super Summer Sale, where you buy 5 and get 1 free. That's right, when you buy 5 gallons of Sunburst Superior Quality Paint, you get 1 gallon of Fresh Look Wall Paint absolutely free. And Sunburst prices start at $16.95 per gallon for top quality wall paint and $38.95 per gallon for super glossy enamel wood paint. In addition, Sunburst will be raffling 3 32-inch flat screen TVs and 3 washing machines to lucky customers. So hurry on down to Sunburst Paints on Howard Road. Sunburst, where every gallon is guaranteed.
Having trouble getting sorted out with your immigration paperwork? Put your concerns in proven and capable hands. Prime Immigration Services, providing full services in all matters of immigration. Status permits, work permits, spousal permits, and even matters relating to detainment. Prime Immigration Services is located First Street, The Grove. Call 325-8363. Prime Immigration Services.
Are you frustrated with the educational system? Tired of large classes and social promotion? Tired of paying exorbitant fees for dismal results? Then Grace Academy is the solution for you. Individual learning plans to guarantee student academic success. Low student-teacher ratio. Reasonable and affordable tuition. All in a safe and comfortable Christian learning environment. Grace Academy, home of the Bob Jones curriculum, grades K3 through 6. Ask about our homeschooling center for secondary students. To register or for more information, contact 361-5100 or godslittle17@gmail.com. Number 1, Chester's Close, Vincent Road, off St. Vincent Road.
Next is Now with the new Samsung Galaxy 6, now available at BTC. Stunning form meets breathtaking innovation and sophisticated design. The first ever smartphone with self-charging capabilities, so you don't need to plug it in. Get ready to discover the next Galaxy, another first from BTC.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's hard copy.
Welcome back on this Tuesday. It's Hard Copy. And of course, I'm with you until the top of the hour because there are many things that we are questioning today. And there's no sense in pointing fingers about who didn't do what. But there is something that we must say, that is, leadership is sorely lacking on this particular matter. And some may say, well, what do you want them to do? Well, we want them to at least bring clarity to the matter by speaking truth to power from a government perspective. Christie cannot get away with saying that he had good news when there is none. And the only good news that we got was the fact that there's this closure of the property and people have been told, let's go home and don't come back. They've got 3 weeks to pay for you, but don't come onto the property because Mr. Ismailian has decided to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That's not good news, not at all. And certainly what Fred Mitchell had to say about good news wasn't good news either, because Mitchell's version of the good news was that since they had a deal on the table, the deal he was talking about apparently was that the Bahamas government was going to pay the monies, the millions of dollars, 50 million, I think, to Bahama because of the roadworks problem that they had. They decided to, well, just stop wrangling over it and pay the money because if they hold to save some jobs. And jobs are very important for the prime minister in the Christie administration. They need jobs and people to be working so they can go to the polls with a mandate this time around in the upcoming general elections that they delivered these jobs. But what has happened here, under the administration presently, unfortunately, we have lost jobs. We have lost jobs. Unemployment has gone up. These are things that people may want to think about and say, should we have now a new mandate? Is it time to go back to the polls and get all this mess behind us and try to start over? Oh, yeah, people are thinking like that. Perhaps right in Christie's cabinet. The amount of people who are now jockeying and lobbying to be leaders, and you didn't hear about all. You only heard but Mr. Wilshcombe and Mr. Brave Davis enunciating that they may want to if Mr. Christie steps aside. But there are all kinds of other people believing that it's time now to get their hands on this, because maybe they perceive Christie at his lowest as far as public imaging is concerned. I can tell you his response last night on this particular matter didn't do him any justice, didn't do him any good. Because when you see the people moving out and walking home from the property, not to return ever, in just seconds of being told, some of them ain't even had a chance to pack their goods. And you're saying that the nation's chief did not know? I believe in the upcoming days, there's going to be great debate along those lines, that people are going to have to put question to the leader. I also believe that now is a suitable time to make a national address to the Bahamian public from Mr. Christie. Even if it's only just to be a fireside chat to calm the affairs, to stamp out the misunderstandings. He has to know, he has intimate knowledge. He was there as the chief mediator, which I appreciate that he was trying to do. But I'd appreciate it more if we know the circumstances of what we now are facing. Maybe they can tell you right now that nothing is going to work out. They perhaps know that part of the chapter as well. The book may have already been written to its completion. You are just getting it in a series of unfortunate events. You know, in this episode, this is what happened. In the next episode, something else will happen. Those of us who've seen this script before, we can tell you, we can talk this picture true to the end and tell you what the head fella can do. But sometimes the head fella must just do what he has to do. Hard Copy, how are you?
Hi, Good evening, Steve. I want to talk about, Steve, VAT being levied on medical insurance effective the 1st of this month.
Well, I'm not talking about that today. You talk about July, the 1st of July?
Yes,
You think that's very, very urgent, eh?
I think it is, Steve, because I've been doing some research. And, you know, while medical insurance is a necessity, it's a matter of life and death. We appear to be the only country in the world that is levying VAT on on medical insurance. We've already collected in the first quarter over $100 million. How much more are they want to levy on the poor people? Who has the interest of the people at heart?
Well, I know that's a concern, but I will tell you this is a little late for the war cry now on this matter because we've accepted VAT hook, line, and sinker. There was no protest. Christie is very pleased with the collection process, so is the Ministry of Finance, and we had ample time to launch any kind of challenge to any of the things that they put on paper to propose that they were going to do, like putting VAT on life insurance and the rest of it. This is the reality of things. This tells me that people have not been paying attention to a number of things that we ought to be paying attention to, and now that it's upon us, we cry out, but it's too late.
Yeah, it's the medical insurance. The people has no voice, Steve. The people who are supposed to be representing the people are not speaking on behalf of the people. That's labor, that's the church, and that's government.
I understand.
That is sad.
And it is, and I agree with you, and there's nothing much at this particular juncture that we can do, is there, except complain and protest. We've got to learn how to protest where it counts. We've got to find some people who have our best interests, as the lady says, who has our interests at heart and are going to work on our behalf. But see, that's why I'm asking you today. Is it time yet for us to demand a new mandate? Because I can tell you, nothing much is going to change going forward. We're going to have the extra years ahead in this administration doing pretty much what we have done in the last 3 years. Spinning wheels, talking the talk, not walking the walk, when the truth is we need to go back home. We need to find ourselves again, find the true Bahamian focus and the true Bahamian plan to develop a true Bahamas in 42 years. 42 years we've been here. Can you believe that we are still having the same conversation? We are. And it's all of our fault. We've not demanded the very best from these people who call themselves our leaders. And really, you wouldn't let them negotiate for you, would you? Give you a scenario. This is a matter of life and death. You are in the perils and in the throes of life or death. Who would you let negotiate for you among this crew if you want to live? Who? There are three kinds of people. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wondered what happened. We, the Bahamian people today, are in the category of wondering what happened. What has happened to us? What is going to happen to us? And all this has been sparked by one big matter, the straw that broke the Campbell Bama. See, the people ain't prepared to hear no more foolishness no more. They can't take it no more. The misery index has climbed. Everything else is climbing. All the negative numbers are getting larger. Can I tell you that? Do you see that? Hard copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's Mr. McKinney.
That's my name.
Yes, I said something on your show a few months ago about Mr. Perry Christie and the PLP.
You did?
Ever since they ran against the vote of the church against that referendum, everything he put his hand to will fail.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. You haven't changed that.
Huh?
You haven't changed your thought on that.
Change that. He ran against his own word. He said, whatever those people say, I am going to do. The minute they said no, I would shut those places down. He ran against his own word, and he opened up those gambling houses. And ever since he did that, which he went against the church, ever since he did that, everything he put his hand to started to crumble and fail.
My Lord.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. Hard copy, how are you?
How are you, Mr. McGinney?
Good, good.
All right. First of all, I'd like to rebuke that in the name of Jesus, because we don't need everything what Perry Christie do from now on to fail, because election couple years away. So I cancel that in Jesus' name. But Mr. McKinney, moving forward, as we realize that, again, Bahamians are left with the brown end of the stick, what I feel that we need to do moving forward is allow Bahamians to get a bigger piece of the pie.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Things, and because I think they're getting the message that we want everything equal. Let's just talk about equality. But as a Bahamian, I want the lion's share of what's available in this country, including tourism, because there are those who would argue that if Bahama went off smoothly, just Bahamians getting little medial jobs as, maids and security isn't good enough. And I feel bad for what happened to Bahama, but I believe that Bahamians deserve a bigger chunk of this pie, and we need to look inward to allow those who could do and who are willing to do more. Let's pull back those chains. Let's not have progress tied to the regression of the standard of living with Bahamian people. Let's move forward where progress, when financially or whatever, equals progress in the lifestyle of Bahamians, because too often we go to the paper with, oh yes, we're going to progressively do this and this is going to happen. But when you examine the full magnitude of what happened, it equals the regression of the Bahamian lifestyle. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your call. Well said. Now, you've been waiting for the prophecy in its full length. It's 5 minutes long. I've been giving you just the first aspect of it, leading up to July 1st, which is tomorrow. I'm going to give you the back end of it all in one go. Put it in context. Hear the message of today's show that we've got to get back to basics, that we've got to do things as Bahamians because this we thing. And that should just not be a style and a word that sounds cultural. That must be the essence of who we are. Miles Monroe puts it one way. He says, look, you've got to go back home to where the beginning process is so that you can have your future from the home that you left looking for something else. It is right here at home. In other words, all that we have been doing, spinning wheels, we've come full circle to understand that with the problems that we now see with that big monstrosity out west and the reality that has hit us, that it may not be, we now got to start digging deep within ourselves to find what we are and who we are and invest there so that we can rebuild this country. We needed foreign investment. Of course we do. We can use some. But we have done nothing, as Pinling had advocated, that we develop our own Bahamian country ourselves, that there's some things that are sacred that we're not supposed to touch, that we have to keep for us. We have lost that. We think everything should be foreign, even maids and gardeners. We've lost our way in 42 years. Didn't just happen to Christie. This is succession moving forward. And so the message of independence that I will play for you tomorrow on this show has not been lost. This priestly people that Reverend Ari Cooper spoke about on Independence morning, that's gone. We are now depending upon foreigners to help us to get bread in the land of milk and honey that God gave us. What a country. There are people who wondered what happened. We are those people. That's where we are today. We're in the category of those who wondered what happened. And having said that, here's that prophecy so that you can put it in context. Miles Monroe, the late, great Miles Monroe.
We are now in a moment where the old weapons that kept the Bahamas don't work no more. I speak prophetically that we are now about to enter in the next few days a period of what I call the last moment. From July 2014 to July 2015, there shall be tremendous change in 1 year. You watch. There shall be many people dying. I'm telling you, many will be sick. Many will be removed in ways we can't explain. Why? Because God got to make sure that the place is clear. I speak prophetically. You watch my word in the next 12 months from the day of July 10th to 14. There shall be magnificent changes which no one can control. And there shall emerge in the next 12 months leaders you never saw before. There shall be young women and men emerging whose ideas will blow your mind, and they cannot wear the old armor anymore. They shall walk with a new mentality. They shall have a spirit upon them. That shall be the Spirit of God, and they shall take us into the next Bahamas. I speak to you with my whole heart that God is saying the time for a new leadership has been birthed. It has arrived. The deliverer cannot set you free. Can only deliver. You know, there was a phrase some years ago, one of our politicians used the word delivery boy. That is exactly correct. And I wasn't surprised that it came out of his mouth because I agree with him. They can deliver you, but they can never set you free. Freedom means you are responsible for your own future. And that's where we are. 40 years is about to go. 41 means we are at the river. From here on in, young people, I want you to plan to go into leadership in every area of your country. We need your creative mind, your new perspective. We need your fresh ideas. We need your passion. We need your dreaming. We need you badly. Don't be saddled with the old way of thinking. I don't want your life to repeat itself next year. Do something we never did. You know, we confuse wisdom with age. Age don't make you wise. It does two things. It makes you old and makes you regretful. That's deep. You'll get that next week. Old people full of regret. They call regret wisdom. You just made some bad decisions. That ain't no wisdom. You got a good memory of what you did wrong. Wisdom is the effective application of knowledge. When you get the knowledge of God, the truth, you can apply it. That's wisdom. And you can do that at age 12, like Jesus did, or like David at age 14 and kill a giant. David knew rocks. He studied rocks. He knew how to use a piece of leather with a string. The guy was an expert in a way that Saul never saw. He used things Saul never saw. He had a weapon that they never knew could work. There are 1,000 ways to kill a giant, and your way ain't the only way. He outsmarted Goliath, confused him. Can I suggest to you that we need some people who can rise up in the Bahamas that will confuse everyone in the world? What kind of country is this? How can they make it with such pure morals, pure values, pure goals, and still be successful? We ain't poor. We got poor thinking. We ain't bankrupt. We bankrupt of ideas. I speak as a prophet. There are going to be a lot of things happening in the next 12 months. You better be warned. God never does anything without telling his prophets first. And I'm telling you, you better get ready for responsibility, get ready to take charge, get ready to move this country forward, and stop hiding in your closet saying you're going to get involved. If you don't get involved, we're going back to Egypt. These are the leaders of the first generation. I tell you that the next election in the Bahamas will be the most serious election in our history. You better mark it. I am not getting involved in any politics for now. I'm talking about something bigger than politics. That election will be whether we go back or forward. Why? It's 40 years. You take a look at that good. They are all the same.
They are all the same. Take a look at it good. The next election will be the most interesting in this 40-year dispensation of a people who are supposed to be blessed in a land that's supposed to be blessed. There's more of that prophecy. That's Act 2 of the prophecy that I'm sharing with you. Tomorrow is July the 1st. We go 10 days in the Miles Monroe prophecy. If we start to measure, you'll see that things have happened thus far. Things that we didn't expect. Things that we never thought we'd see. 72 murders in 1 month. Unemployment unbelievable. Bahamians losing home in the thousands. Speeches in the House of Assembly that would move you. Resignations and baffling moments. Challenges to the Speaker chair. Challenges that have overwhelmed those who are in charge. And a country mix-up with overwhelming immigration, overwhelming crime. And now this thing that we'd all been looking to. You know, the first time when this question came about, if God is speaking to us and is trying to get our attention, like he got Moses' attention with the burning bush, is when the prophet himself died instantly in that plane crash, that fateful Sunday in November. We asked the question, what does this mean? What do we learn from this? And then it dissipated. The whole country was in mourning. The world was in mourning for the little fella from South Street, Miles Monroe. And we asked, what does this mean? Somehow we've gotten away from that. Now we've got another crack to ask that question again. What is God saying to us, his people, who in our Constitution, we say we believe in the supremacy of God? What is he saying? Now that the thing that we begun to worship and took our eyes off him and started to look to the blue nation, Burma, what is he saying when he says, okay, hold on a second, hold that thought right there. SACUS, go and file a bankruptcy. What does it mean? What is he saying? All the hopes and plans of men who said jobs will be there have been dashed. Those who, and they're victims of the situation, not really, they're just in the puzzle right now. But some good will happen. They gone home yesterday, not to come back to the property. 2,000 plus. What is he saying? I mean, this is a loving God, so what is he saying? He knows that we need something big to happen, so what is he saying? He knows that we can't afford no more problems because we are almost under right now. What is he saying? Does anybody stop to think about it? Or are we still looking to man's hand that will fail us? That Christy got something up his sleeve. You think so? Well, let's wait and see. I come to tell you today that these are serious and compelling times. And that the greatest thing that you can do is look to the hills from whence comes your help. Not to these fellas. Don't put your trust in chariots and horses. Don't put your trust in buildings and promises and utterances by men. The good word is that you put your trust in the man, in the hand of the man who stilled the water. That's how sobering this is. And I'm not talking to those of you who out there, you as Gnostics, and I'm talking to my people who believe in God and they're at home, they ain't got no job tonight, and they asking God, why have I been sent home? And you know my mortgage is in trouble, and you know I ain't have no food, and you know I ain't even got a car to drive. How come this happened to me? And I've been a faithful steward. I do good things. I pay my collection. I do all those things. How come this has happened to we? And then the answers are, where have you been looking for your help? Have you forgotten me? Says God. Well, I only trying to stop you in your tracks to show you another episode of A Burning Bush, because I've been talking to you all, and you all can't hear. I have put madness among these who you call your leaders, and they can't get nothing right, but you all can't hear. So I thought of a way to get your attention. Since you put your faith and your trust in this one man to be your prosperity, I only come to tell you, don't try it. And nobody can change that. Miles said, there will be things that will happen that you don't understand, but you can't change it. There's nothing that you can do except look to the hills from whence cometh your help. You look to the house of assembly, that's your business. You look for these mere mortals who are high on their egotistical trip. No. Start praying and looking to God to change things around. We are in a dispensation of changes. Don't you see it? Don't you get it? You didn't get the memo. All year long, I've been playing the soundbite of the prophecy. We are in the dispensation of changes. You heard the back part of the prophecy tonight? Young people, get ready and do what you're supposed to be doing in this land of plenty. Why go ye, man, to Bama to wash dishes when God has given you talent to run country? I tell you, these are sobering times. Dr. Monroe says, you men who have come and are ready to lead and hiding in your closets and say, he mean me, he mean you. It's time to lead. Time to step to the plate. Because the old God, the weapons that kept this country, can no longer keep it. Prime example, Bama. The weapons that kept this country, the warriors, the people, the leaders, can no longer do it. Bama is an example. I truthfully believe that. A different group of people, as people said tonight, a different attitude may have brought a different result. Yeah. These are serious and compelling times. I'm going to post all of your statements today upon Facebook tonight, so you can look there for them. Many people have texted us today. We don't have time to read them today on the show. And some of them are very, very explosive about what they think of the leadership of this country. I'm going to post them for you tonight. You can go to the Facebook page. But there's so many things to talk about. And I like to get the essence of the soberness of these things. I know some of you want to talk about, what does bankruptcy mean? Look it up. What does chapter 7, chapter 11 mean? Look it up. See, we are here not to be befuddled by these things. We told you. The man is protecting his assets. Bottom line, that's the end of it. Don't worry about none of all these other. The man is protecting his assets from the creditors to the people he owe. He ain't want them to take nothing from him. But you all gone home. And your leaders have told you there's nothing to say at this point except let's keep hoping. Mistake. I say switch your eyes. Put your eyes someplace else and your trust and faith and your hope somewhere else. Because only God can bail us out of this. This is how far this has gone. You have no idea of the magnitude of what I'm talking about or that Bama project. But it's not for me to say. It's for you to feel it when it happens because Christie's the one who's supposed to say. He's supposed to tell you. It ain't look good. Don't mind them. It ain't look good. All right? You're my brothers and sisters. I can't lie to you. It ain't look good, and it ain't good. So now you've got to pivot, recalibrate, and go for gold by developing yourself and your talents and pushing the envelope for us to get some things for Bahamians in the Bahamas to reach our full potential, to go back home, to go back to our roots and find the things that we're supposed to be doing and make them happen, because that's how we can turn this country around, and that's how we can build it. It will be built by our hands to the honor and glory of God, and we shall all prosper. But you ain't want to hear that message. That sounds too preachy. But that's the message that you need to know, because that's the truth. It ain't gonna happen for people coming in to fleece and take and rip and rob and carry. No country. Ask Africa. With all her gold and pearls and diamonds and rubies. Where is she? Her people are here among our people now, looking for prosperity in the land of plenty, where there are plenty others, few Bahamians, who get none. That's how you got to change your thinking to build this country. And that's what Dr. Monroe is talking about. It's a new dispensation. Tomorrow is July 1st. We count down the days to July 10th. And not that we're looking for anyone to disappear. No. This message that he has given is a message loaded with making changes in a paradigm shift to save Bahamas. All he is really saying is that some people have to move off the sea. We're seeing the full essence of it now. Rollins, he made the final statement in the budget. It's a sign of time, sign of the times to come. Young people. Nobody know why brave Christian Bernard Knowledge didn't talk. Maybe their mouths were shut up, like the mouths of the lions when Daniel was thrown into the lion den. They had nothing to say. The speaker, who everybody thought would have done contrary, did what was laid on his heart. Young people. It's a new dispensation. And even though it happened right before your eyes, I have still got to interpret it for you, because you may have missed it. Don't miss it. The time has already changed. We can't hold it back. It's already happened. Miles says, the time is here. The time is now. Now you get it. You will see more of these kinds of people who you don't even know their name surface. Not only will you see Greg and Rollins and the Paul Mosses and the Renwood Wells and the John Bostwicks and others who I don't even have their names. It's a different time. The Prince Smith, the Patrick Pettys, and you will see new people. They will gather. And when you see those new people, you will know that that man was truly a man of God who told you that the new dispensation is here. This whole week, we'll be giving you snippets of the prophecy and a lot about our history of a country as an independent nation. And tomorrow, if you feel the preaching coming on, you want to tune into hard copy, because I'll tell you this, we're going to share with you the real message that was given to a nation at its birth. And then we're going to compare how far off the scene we have moved from that nation, from that preaching, from that message, from the R.E., Dr. R.E. Cooper, the late. This is our country, friends. Have no fear. Do not be depressed. Feel no thing. Know that he who is within you is greater than he who is within the world. It is a new day, I declare. But that's only because I see it. And you see it too. Embrace it. The weapons that kept this country are no longer useful. The time has come for new people, whether you believe it or not. We leave it there tonight. 3 kinds of people in this world: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wondered what happened. Let's go home, Irvin.
Early in the morning, as the sun is dawning, I go to the well to get my water to bed. Get my wood from the bush to make my tea and eat my bread till I fill my belly. Then I get ready to go outside and play. Get my friends from next door to run with me to the store to get some salt beef and flour for mama to cook. We pick some limes from the tree and we pick some sapodilly. Then we make some switcher to drink to wash down the food. My Bahamian thing, growing up on the island, catching the fish with my bait and my line.
Today's show has been brought to you by Commonwealth Bail Bonds, Bank of the Bahamas, BTC Everyday, Super Value, the McKinney Media Group, Island Made Products, Ministry of Tourism, AML Foods, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, New Oriental Laundry, Grace Academy, #1 Chester Clothes, Ron's Electric Motors, Prime Immigration Services, Sky Bahamas, Super Value, Super Wash, Seafowl, Executive Printers, and Henry F. Store. Good night from Hot Coffee. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.
Everyone was like your neighbor. Take care of your son and your daughter. We had no bed, so we had to sleep on the floor. Go to church on Sunday, get ready for school on Monday. Study homework with a lantern till late at night. Telling them old time stories like a cookie and a rabbit, and sleep to your heart's content till the morning light. My Bahamian thing, growing up on the island, catching my fish with my bait and my line. Growing up on the island, sitting on the rock, everything is fine. Growing up on the island, planting my corn and my peas and my sweet potato, nothing sweeter than Bahamian thing. Oh.